Hey everybody, I am John Anderson, Director of Media for Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. We are Nebraska's voice for Second Amendment issues, followed by about 30,000 Nebraskans who strongly believe in the rights and the freedoms that are protected by the Second Amendment. We invited candidates running for Congress, governor, Nebraska State Legislature, city councils, and county sheriff to participate in our Online Townhall Series, Meet the Candidates. Our format for this event is an online recorded interview. Each recording is unedited. Our members have prepared the questions to assess candidates running for elected office. Tonight, I would like to introduce Breland Ridenour, who is running for governor of Nebraska. Breland, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to answer the questions.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to jump right in here. The first question is, why did you agree to participate in the online town hall with Nebraska Firearms Owners Association?
Great question, John. So here's one of the reasons why I even started running is because I'm tired of candidates who just say, well, I support the Second Amendment, but go no further and to explain what does that support look like? What does it mean to support the Second Amendment? What does it mean to them? And I look forward to having this opportunity, other opportunities as well, to be able to explain what it means to me to support the Second Amendment and a full, deep perspective. Because there's a lot of questions that I have for individuals who just say, well, I support it, but the level of which people support it varies from person to person. And I look forward to this opportunity to really being able to explain what it means to me.
All right. Next, our members wanted to know, what is your favorite firearm and how often do you shoot it?
So I built an AR-15 a number of years back, and I've got it all tricked out with what I need. I've been campaigning this is my 15th month, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to be out and shooting it lately. But the last time I was out shooting it was in October of last year. I actually put it through a grueling three-day field training. I think it's important, not only do we shoot and be good marksmen, but we also need to make sure that our weapons are able and capable of being able to handle harsh conditions. So that they're not going to break down on us, they're not going to fail on us when we need them to operate the most. But I got a handful of different firearms, and that one's my favorite. I love it, and on a normal year, I'd shoot it probably about 6 to 8 different times a year. The cost of ammo is absolutely ridiculous, and I will not dip into my ammo reserves. That I assure you. But I shoot as often as I can.
All right. Now we'd like to hear, what is the number one purpose of government?
Oh, that's easy. To protect the life and liberty of the people. That's it. It needs to protect the rights.
Okay, our members have several issues of interest, so let's dive in with our next question. What are you going to do to protect Nebraskans from the federal government's attempts to restrict the Second Amendment?
Yeah, well, first off, there is a Second Amendment itself. Shall not be infringed is quite self-explanatory to me. So what I'm going to do to be able to protect that, to leverage our Second Amendment rights, is to work with our Attorney General to make sure that we are fighting back tooth and nail. And I fully understand that this is probably going to be quite expensive, but I believe that Nebraskans would agree with me that we need to be using our tax dollars to protect the rights of the people. Then, of course, there is the famous 10th Amendment. That I will 100% in every opportunity leverage against the federal government. Third, I am the only candidate that has been consistently speaking about reducing our dependence on the federal coin purse. If we want to be an independent state, we want to retain our rights and be able to fight back against an overreaching federal government, we have got to not be so dependent on the federal money. That's the first thing they use against us whenever we try to get outside their little square, right, and tug on the leash that they have on us. That's where we're going to start. Now, I love what Missouri did. They put legislation in place that said any federal officer who's enforcing federal laws that infringe on the Second Amendment would be arrested and prosecuted by state officials. And I believe we need to do the absolutely same here in Nebraska. And I would work with our legislatures to be able to get that same measure passed here as well.
Okay, now we're going to go a bit further with some specific issues we're addressing here in Nebraska lately. What is your position on constitutional carry, and what will you do or what have you done in support of that position?
Yeah, Absolutely, 100%. I absolutely believe in constitutional carry. I have stated from the get-go that the requirement for a concealed carry permit or even a purchase permit is unconstitutional. It violates our rights. Again, shall not be infringed is pretty simple. What I have done is just voicing my opinion on the matter, and also trying to get Nebraskans educated. In fact, it was just last week I had someone ask me about the details of constitutional carry. What would that look like in the state of Nebraska? And I've used my campaign as an opportunity to talk about constitutional carry and educate Nebraskans and be able to get them to realize the importance of this, and also bring forth some valid arguments as to why they should support the constitutional carry. And I'm fully aware that it failed by 2 votes, and that's extremely frustrating for me. And what I would do as governor, now the governor is a leader of the people, and he needs to be able to work with the people to get the support of Nebraskans to unite and as one voice, as well as to work with the legislature so that they prioritize this. And this is a high priority for me, is to have constitutional carry, to get rid of the infringement that we have on our laws, or on our Second Amendment here in Nebraska. And I'm just going to continue to work very, very hard to push this, to educate Nebraskans, and to get them united to stand behind this. And so our legislators will do the same as well.
All right. How about your position on red flag laws, and what will you do or have you done in support of that position?
Well, first off, I don't support the red flag laws. And 2, again, we need to have legislation in place that protects the right of the people. And that goes back to, I believe, like the second question you asked me is what's the primary purpose of government? To protect the rights of the people. And I want to elaborate a little bit more to say, look, our legislatures are elected by the people. But as a governor, I need the legislature, and they need me just as much. We have to work as a team. And if they want to pass the bills that they want to pass, they're going to have to understand that they're going to have to go through me, right? And I likewise with them. And the point I'm trying to make is there's a symbiotic relationship there that I will be leveraging to get our legislator to prioritize our Second Amendment rights and get like constitutional carry passed through, as well as protections for red flag laws as well. And so as a governor, you got to be able to work with people. That's something I can do. I have done. I have experience to do. I have great relationships with a number of our current legislatures, as well as a number of what I believe will be the future legislatures after this next 2022 election. And it's important that I have that, and I've worked very hard on those relationships because I want to hit the ground running. This is a priority to me. And so we need to be able to protect the rights of people, and the best way to do that is have legislation in place here in our state.
Okay, as one of the few states without it, let's discuss your thoughts on state preemption of firearm laws, and what will you do or have you done in support of that position?
I believe in state preemption laws. I do. I believe that what the state says should be the first and foremost thing. This state needs to protect the rights of the people. And I know we have an issue right now here in Omaha where you're required to have a open carry permit, even though the state says that this is an open carry state. And I don't support it whatsoever. I've even had this conversation with the president of the Omaha Police Officer Association, Tony Connor, great guy, and he's explained to me why they need this ability for open carry permits. But the thing is that, again, shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. And while I fully understand the need or what they're trying to do from the Omaha police perspective, I don't believe a good solution never violates the rights of the people. And I won't support a solution that does, because it's not the right solution. We need to find a solution that will fix the problem, that will allow Omaha to be able to do their job, but will also still protect and retain the rights of the people. So that's my stance in that regard, and I believe the state the state should have the right to be able to say, no, we're protecting the rights of the people. Any local entities, they need to work around that and find a better solution to be able to do what they need to do.
Okay, recently we had an opportunity to address some much needed protections via LB 300 Castle Doctrine. What are your thoughts on Castle Doctrine, and what will you do or have you done in support of that position?
Well, I support it. I absolutely support it. I don't believe that we have enough protection of the rights of the people to be able to defend themselves in their home. What we have today in Nebraska, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I fully support people being able to protect their life and their home And what I will continue to do is to educate people, to promote it, make sure Nebraskans understand that the need for this, and make sure I'm working with the legislators to make sure that we get this passed. And again, as I mentioned earlier, part of that is working with our legislature to prioritize the need to be able to push through council doctrine and have that protected by law here in our state.
All right. In our state, we don't have the ability to remain in a place we are legally allowed to be, and we have a duty to retreat. What are your thoughts on duty to retreat, and what will you do or have you done in support of that position?
Well, I don't support duty to retreat. I don't believe Nebraskans should be required to retreat when their life is threatened, especially in their own home. That's completely tactically unsound, and also again, it's not good policy if we want people to protect their life and be able to have the right to do so. So I wouldn't support it. Again, like I said before, we need to have laws, we have legislation that details this to say you don't have to retreat. You can stand your ground. That's the opposite. That's the flip side of this, is your stand your ground laws, which I fully support. Stand your ground, be able to defend yourself when you feel your life is being threatened or someone else's life is being threatened.
In general, are there any specific gun laws that you think should get repealed?
Well, a state perspective, concealed carry permits, the permit to purchase. These are a couple are also that infringements that need to go. Furthermore, I would never support any law, whether it be to ban certain capacity magazines, to ban bump stocks, binary triggers. It doesn't matter. It's all infringement. Any law that bans those is all infringement on our Second Amendment rights. And I fully support Nebraskans being armed. So those would just be a couple right off the top of the head that I think need to go.
All right. NFOA believes in education. What is your position on mandating firearm safety classes or programs in K through 12 public schools?
At 100%. In fact, if I recall, like I said, I've been campaigning for 15 months, and if memory serves, I'm the only candidate that has ever publicly stated this as part of my policy for supporting the Second Amendment, is that we have to have a firearm safety and training in our schools. One reason that is the practicality. Even if an individual grows up, a student grows up, decides never to own a firearm, that never means that there won't be an opportunity or a situation where they have to use a firearm to protect themselves or somebody else. It's also important that we take out the tabooness of it. I'm sure you probably have this experience, John, and John, and a number of people who will be watching this, is that how many people have we taken out who are new to guns, who are afraid of guns? And once they finally get a little training, they shoot it, they realize, hey, this isn't so bad. Right now I know how to operate. But we need to take that tabooness, we need to take that fear out of guns, and we can start by teaching our students. The next thing is, too, that's important why we need to do this is because we need to cultivate the American heritage, American spirit. Guns, firearms, the right to keep and bear arms, it runs in our DNA as Americans. It is one thing that sets us apart from any other nation in the entire world. This is how we established our country, was with our firearms. This is how we've kept our country safe against when the Japanese said they would never attack us because of a rifle behind every blade of grass. That wasn't our military, that was our people who were armed. And we will continue. If we want to be a free people, if we want to be an independent people, we will still use our firearms to ensure that that is the case. And we need to get back in schools. I mentioned this earlier, education, all for education, whether it be tactical education, safety education. Our students need to grow up, our children need to grow up with an appreciation and respect for firearms. And I encourage people to, I know there's a little bit of debate, but I'm going to digress a little bit because I still feel it applies here. But some people say we should always conceal carry. You don't want anybody to know that you're open carry. Here's the thing is how I see it is that open carry, when people see that you are armed, when people start seeing the majority of populace are armed, this is going to help take away that taboo, to help cultivate that firearm culture that we have had once in this country and need to create to a heightened level, right? And so I'm all for education, absolutely. Let's get it into schools.
Okay, being a 2A supporter, what is your position on the intent and purpose of the Second Amendment?
Well, the Second Amendment was not intended to protect, first off, the hunting rights of the people. While it does, we look back to when the Constitution was written and enacted, hunting was a normal way. It was just a normal thing of life. It was a consistency that was very expected. A lot of people hunted. I don't believe, and especially according to the words of our founding fathers and other memoirs and letters, that was not the intent either. While it still does protect the right to hunt and to keep and bear arms for that purpose, primarily it was designed to defend our rights and our liberties from an enemy, foreign or domestic, whether that be an overreaching tyrannical government or whether it be a foreign government. That was the absolute intent and purpose of this. It was also intended to be open so that that Americans can be well armed enough to match that of military grade. It wasn't to prevent us. They could have said, well, you can only have muskets that are, or firearms that are 20 years behind the current military. They could have put whatever they wanted in there, and they didn't. They said the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. That's simple. But it also encouraged being well disciplined or well regulated. And being regulated means being disciplined, means being trained. It is the right of the people, the free people, not the National Guard, that doesn't count, but the free people themselves as a whole should not only maintain and operate firearms, but to be regulated. As George Washington said, free people ought not to only be armed, but disciplined. And that's what I believe it was designed to, because that's how they protected our country from one of the greatest armies, the greatest militaries back in the 1700s. They defied them, and they created a free country because of an armed populace. And they just got out of that war, and this is exactly what they meant, is they didn't want to take the rights of the people because they knew it was the absolute most crucial necessity for free people.
And lastly, let's move to the Nebraska Constitution. How will Article 1, Section 1, the Statement of Rights of the Nebraska Constitution, impact your decision-making in the role you are pursuing?
Well, I find interesting about Article 1, Section 1 is the fact that there is more of that article that talks about the right to keep and bear arms than anything else, because it is, as some say, the one right to secure them all. It is the one right that we have if we are ever to be a free people, if we are ever to have our liberties, if we are to protect our lives, to even the subjective matter of pursuit of happiness, which being subjective means that it is different for each individual. The only way we'll ever be able to protect that is with our own arms, with being a armed populace of free people. And that's what that Article 1, Section 1 of Nebraska Constitution states, the Statement of Rights. And again, it goes back to everything I said. It is absolutely crucial that we never give up our firearms, whether it be voluntary or by order of the federal government. It is absolutely 100% necessary to a free people. And I can assure you, John, if the federal government ever came knocking on our doors to take our rights, you will find me right there in the streets fighting them tooth and nail. Even if I'm the only one and I'm not standing alone, I will be there, because that is a line that I draw in the sand.
All right. So these questions were compiled by our members, as I said before. If anybody would like to reach out to you to clarify any of the answers that you gave or to follow up on any of the answers that you gave, how can people reach you, Breland?
Well, there's two best ways. One would be through my website at www.ridenourforgovernor.com. It's my last name, FOR, governor.com. I do personally check the emails that come through that site. I make it a priority, and I have throughout this entire campaign, so that to respond to these correspondences myself. So you don't get some canned answer from somebody else. You're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. And the second way is also through Facebook, facebook.com/Nebraskans for Ridenour. I check the messages there, the comments as well. I'd love to be, either method works great for me. And I'd love to be able to continue and further this discussion on these topics and these questions, should anybody have a need for any clarification.
All right. This has been Breland Ridenour, who is running for governor of Nebraska. Breland, thank you so much for taking time to sit down and answer these questions from our members.
Hey, thank you, John. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're all doing at NFOA.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.